Hey lovers, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Are you still looking for that perfect gift for that special someone? Well, look no further. I write and record personalized custom songs, and I'd love to write one for you. The process is fun as we work together, from picking what style of song you'd like and lyrical content to best convey your personalized message. Space is limited. Email DeMakes@gmail.com for more info on this one-of-a-kind gift that lasts a lifetime. That's DeMakes@gmail.com. Space is limited, so inquire now.
You've got a great idea for a small business, but you just can't get it off the ground. You want to be your own boss, set your own hours. Well, new year means new opportunities, and Shopify's got you covered to help get your venture off the ground. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. And they help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard. Don't kick yourself next holiday season when your 2025 resolution list looks the same as it does today. Make it happen with Shopify. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/income.
It's Throwback Thursday.
Hey everybody, it's Throwback Thursday again. We're pushing 250 episodes of Chris DeMakes a podcast at this point, but this week, we're going to throw it back to episode 70. So this past weekend, Chris texted me a video of his TV where he saw a band that we had on the show a few years back playing on CBS Saturday Morning. It was Wilderado, who back when we had Max Rainer from the band on the show, were new to both Chris and I. In the years that have passed, Wilderado has continued touring and growing their fan base to the point where they're playing on CBS morning shows, and they're on this year's Bonnaroo festival. Pretty cool, and they're super well-deserving. I hope you all enjoy this episode, and don't forget to check out our Patreon at chrisdemakes.com if you enjoy our show. All right, here you go. From September 26th, 2021, this is episode 70 of Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Max Rainer discusses Wilderado's Surefire.
Hey gang, today's guest is Max Rainer, guitarist and vocalist for the Tulsa, Oklahoma rock band Wilderado. Max and I got busy breaking down their 2019 single, Surefire. The track, which was a standalone single, followed a string of EPs by the band. Max described finding inspiration for the song after reading a book by author Stephen King. In the book, King included a poem by his wife Tabitha that inspired Max to put pen to paper and craft the lyrics to Surefire. He mentioned that the initial demo was almost the exact same length as what the final version became. That linear skeleton of the demo was then built upon in the studio by adding other layers and instrumentation. Max seemed delighted I took the time to dissect his song and go as in-depth as I did. It was my pleasure, as it's currently one of my favorite songs. And, as if I couldn't like the band anymore, Max shared that he feels the best way he and his bandmates can get their music heard is to go town to town, city to city, spreading their gospel. A true working class band. I back it. For all this and a whole lot more, stick around. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. 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 See, I want to set this one up and give a little backstory to the listeners. Wilderado is a rock band from Tulsa, Oklahoma, named after Wilderado, Texas, but Wilderado for Texas is spelled differently. It's with an O, Wilderado, and you guys are spelled Wilderado. The band signed to Bright Antenna Records, a label that specializes in artist development, and their staff includes A&R veteran Braden Merrick, who discovered and broke the Killers. Max, you and your bandmate Tyler met through mutual friends in college and started writing songs together in your fifth year after, I guess, most of your friends had left. And you released your first EP, Misty Shrub, in 2016. The EP, is it pronounced Latigo?
Latigo.
Latigo.
Well,
Latigo.
you know what? I'm the wrong person to ask. We always called it Latigo. It's the street we lived up in that canyon was Latigo Canyon, but I could be the one pronouncing it wrong.
I bet you're right. We're going to go with Latigo. That came out in July of 2016, and this is what really got me. That has amassed over 18 million Spotify streams, which it is awesome. Congratulations on that. You guys have toured with acts such as Band of Horses and Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, which I thought was really cool. And your third EP, Favors, was released in 2018. And since then, you've been releasing singles, which is pretty cool. In researching you guys, I haven't found that you did any full-length albums. You've been doing EPs and singles, which is just the way things are now. For me, I'm old school. I've been doing this a long time, and you put out albums, but so many newer artists aren't going that way, and I don't think you need to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm always curious kind of what people think about us having taken that trajectory or that path. I mean, to be blunt about it, wasn't from a whole lot of thought on our end. I mean, we have a management company and a couple of people we've been with from the very beginning and trust and relate to, and we've kind of just allowed ourselves to work, and we were just always on the road, and it just made sense to not be able to have too much studio time, not have too much money to be able to spend on recording, too many songs. So it just kind of made sense to put out these little small packages rather than a full LP. So it's really kind of just been a circumstantial thing. But I do think it's worked out in our favor. But I am always curious. I mean, someone like you coming, because I'm not that young. I mean, dang, I'm 33, believe it or not. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar to records. I've got a romanticized and wonderful connection to the record as well.
I actually think it's smart. Studios cost money, producers cost money, and you figure, hey, we're going to take a gamble on a new producer. I've had bad experiences. Like you go record a 14-song album, you're stuck with this producer, you're paying them, you don't maybe like the results, versus, hey, let's go do a 3-song EP. I don't like that guy. Well, only 3 songs. So I think from a financial and a creative perspective, it kind of works out maybe better this way.
It is, and it's one of those things where I personally feel like there is lots about it that you could mourn or wish was different. But at the end of the day, what we are is a band in this time period, and the way people are consuming music is just the way people are consuming music.
My band recently, we did a record about a year ago, and they were sending emails around, hey, who do you want in the thanks, and the thanks list in the record? I was like, nobody, because nobody reads it anymore. Nobody cares. Like, who the hell is going to read it? I'm not even going to waste 5 minutes in saying, hey, thank my mom and dad and my brother and whoever else. They're not going to read it. No one reads it anymore. It doesn't matter. It's all the game has changed, and I've actually, in doing this show, have kind of embraced it and kind of had to look at it at things a little differently and say, you know what? Just because I haven't done it this way, or for the however many years, that maybe there's something to this. It's really opened my eyes, and it's cool to talk to somebody that's doing it like you guys are doing it.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, but don't place any value on me. I mean, I'm just doing in a way what we're doing. We're just kind of reacting more than anything, which is what's fun about right now. I mean, we're now finally putting out an LP, and we've had time to make it, and it's made sense. I mean, from the very beginning, the idea was to just travel and make fans on the road. None of our faces were going to make fans on the internet. So we just decided like the way to make fans was shaking hands and playing in front of people. And now we have a little fan base that we feel like we could put out a record to. And also we've developed a songwriters and simply had the funds and time to do it. So it's a cool time. And it feels like something we're kind of doing for ourselves, because I still think you can make the argument of why are you putting out 10 songs when maybe only 3 of them are going to be listened to? But I think we've kind of earned doing a couple things our way and have been willing to say yes over and over and over. And now we're excited to put out a record just for the sake of putting out a record.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You did it the other way for a while, and now you're going to put out an album. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to ask you, who produced this track we're about to jump into, the song Surefire? Who produced this with you?
Chad Copeland.
Chad Copeland. Okay. I couldn't find that when I was researching it.
He and James McAllister, both Tulsa origins. James in LA now. James did all the Latigo and Misty Shrub stuff. And then ever since then, we've done everything except for the Favors EP with Chad. We're talking about Surefire, right?
Yeah, Surefire. Yeah.
Yeah. Chad Copeland and James McAllister. They're kind of our guys. That's home base for us now, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I love the sound of this track. And, Max, if I were to ask you, just assuming no one's ever heard your band, this is the first interview you ever did, let's say, and I've been asked this question before, and I know my answer, and I've had to use it over the years, but how would you describe your band to someone that doesn't know your band, hasn't heard your band? What would you describe it as? Because I think I have an explanation.
Do you mean how I would describe it in terms of sonics, or how? Not so
much sonics. I guess what I'm getting at is if you had to name one or two or three artists, maybe influences or you like, maybe you think you sound like, that you could give a description to somebody, to a journalist, or just to anybody.
Oh man, I mean, I'd have a really hard time answering that question. I think it's all so circumstantial and kind of just what's going on that day. I mean, when I wrote Surefire, I just got off the road with Lindsey Buckingham and Christine McVie. So I'd watched them almost 30 nights in a row. And I don't know how much that actually influenced the song, but that was what was all around me. Well, I think right before I wrote that tune.
Well, I know I put you on the spot with this, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I'm talking the first time I heard the track, and I've listened to this song like 30 times now. I love it. I think the song's awesome. That's why I want to know who your producers were too. I love the sound. I don't know if these are two influences of yours. I love both of these artists I'm going to talk about, but my initial reaction of it, and I don't know if this is going to, which way this is going to rub you, but I felt like it was musically like Tom Petty and a little vocally like Coldplay. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I have no idea who could be offended by that.
Dude, it has this, it's just, there's something honest about it, man. There's something honest.
I can't say that offends me. It does, that makes me feel really good. I appreciate it.
Okay, good. I was weary. I had it in my notes. I was like, do I say that? But I felt I needed to, because that was my first, I was like, and by no means do I mean it's a ripoff of that at all, and I've listened to some of your other stuff. This song's kind of on its own compared to your other things, but that was my first initial reaction, and I'm glad you're not offended by it.
Man, I think that's so cool. Thank you.
Well, the single Surefire was released in July of 2019. The song was, from what I understand, inspired by the poem A Gradual Canticle for Augustine by Tabitha King. I had not heard of that poem prior to this. And this song was named one of the top 5 songs you need to hear right now by Sirius XM Spectrum. So this poem, like, how did that come about, and how was that the inspiration for the track?
I'll tell you how it came about. Was I was reading Stephen King's book is titled On Writing, which is pretty sweet if you've never read it. It's like a half memoir and half just him kind of writing simply on his experience and technique and philosophy on writing kind of in and of itself. It's really, really good. But at some point in that book, he started talking about his wife's poetry, and that he just included that whole poem right there in the book. I never read anything of her, and I didn't really know much about Stephen King. Still really don't past that one book, but it just made me, I was just kind of enchanted by that idea of, I mean, I've always known about hibernation, I guess, but the way she just put it, I thought was so cool. And to tell you the truth, I didn't really think, oh man, I'm going to wake up and write about bears hibernating in the morning. It was more like I had basically made the whole shape of Surefire. I mean, it's kind of side note. I love it so much that you want to talk about this song. It's probably my favorite song I've ever written. But one thing I love about Surefire is the shape literally came from, I sat down and I think I did it on Logic. I just tracked that dun 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 and played through that, and then just played for 3 or 4 minutes and just kind of stopped when I felt like stopping, and that was to the beat what ended up being the whole structure of the song.
Well, yeah, the song's 4 minutes long, so it sounds like you were right there.
Yeah, it was wild. It just kind of at some point I like doing that sometimes, but it actually worked out with this tune perfectly. So I had done that, and Justin and I, the drummer in the band, had kind of made up a little just vibe all around it. And then the next day, I guess I went into try to put some melodies and vocals on it, and had just read that the night before. And for some reason, that bear line, bear in the forest, kind of just like sang really well, I thought, and kind of came out a little subconsciously. So it wasn't so much I set out to write about it as it was, I guess, just kind of still in my mind a little bit when I was getting into the lyrics.
Well, I got to tell you, my producer Chris, he, I know my listeners know this, but he had suggested me doing a podcast over a year ago. I was like, I don't want to do a podcast. He's like, no, you should do one. It should be about songwriting, and I am so glad he did. I've said this a bunch because I might have never heard this song. So Chris, thank you, because this song, and I'm glad you want to talk about it. It's your favorite song because it is awesome. And real quick before we jump in, I'd like to read the Tabitha King poem real quick for listeners.
Why not?
The thinnest bear is awakened in the winter by the sleep, laughter of locusts, by the dream, blustering of bees, by the honeyed scent of desert sands that the wind carries in her womb into the distant hills, into the houses of cedar. The bear has heard a sure promise, certain words are edible, the nourish, more than snow heaped upon silver plates, or ice overflowing golden bowls. Chips of ice from the mouth of a lover are not always better, nor a desert dreaming always a mirage. The rising bear sings a gradual canticle, woven of sand that conquers cities by a slow cycle. His praise seduces a passing wind, traveling to the sea, wherein a fish, caught in a careful net, hears a bear's song in the cool, scented snow. And props to you, because I don't know if I would have come across that in a Stephen King book if that would have given me inspiration to write a song.
Dude, well, I mean, hell if I know what any of that means. It was a great way to stumble on the poem, I think, just because the way he sets it up was like they were in a poetry class, I think it goes, and this woman stands up that just strikes him in that special way, and then she reads that, and I think it just kind of floored him. And so he kind of set up that scenario and that mood, and then showed you the poem. And yeah, I don't know, it just kind of sang to me, to tell you the truth.
And that's awesome. And what I said wasn't meant as a knock. It was just like, as I read that, and I read the other day, and I'm reading now, I'm reading it, reciting it to you. I'm like, wow, he got inspired by that. That's pretty cool. And for those that don't know, I didn't know what a canticle was. It's a chant, hymn, or a song in the biblical text. So that's what a canticle means. So again, I'm learning stuff on my show too. It's great.
I just think it's kind of cool that she had that imagery of something coming out of a period of time that I think all living things understand how precious time is. And the fact that these animals do that, to me, is they sacrifice months to sleep. And then he came out kind of with a song on his lips. So there's something beautiful about that to me. So yeah, that's it, man. I thank God for her. I love that line. I love the way it sings.
Okay, well, we're going to jump into the track now. As I said before, it's 4 minutes and 4 seconds. And I think you just described this part, and I almost wrote it in my notes how you said it. That the song starts off with just guitar. It's a jing, 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 just the guitar, and then the band is in. There's these tight eighth-note stereo guitars, slightly overdriven, with a neat guitar lick panned off to the right. Tambourine is placed on the snare hits, and the guitar lick drops out as verse 1 begins. And then there's this guitar high-pitched delay. I wrote that's kind of the running theme at various points in the song. It's panned over to the left speaker that kind of introduces parts, and I love the sound. It's so cool. And that happens up until the 17-second mark, and then we're in the first verse.
I can feel it in the future. I can see it in the culture.
Read a couple lines here and have you set it up. I can feel it in the future. I can see it in the culture. I see the moon as the sunrise. See the stars with my morning eyes. And right there, that high-pitched delay guitar comes in before the rest of the verse goes. So set up these 4 lines for us.
Set them up. Well, I got to say, first of all, this rules. I've never had anybody, I think, listen to a song quite like this. I mean, it's like you go in the studio and dork out with your friends. You don't ever expect someone to be finding all these minute details. So man, I hope you know I appreciate it. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that's what I love about doing this show, man. I get into it. So I'm glad you're digging it.
Yeah, I dig. I think a lot of what I do is when I'm writing lyrics is just kind of allowing myself to put a very high value on the cadence and the melody. And I kind of try and let the words favor those things, if you will. And I think I just liked the alliteration of the 2 F's. I can feel it in the future. I can see it in the culture. It just kind of came out, to tell you the truth. There wasn't a whole lot of thought into it. And I loved the upside downness of I see the moon as the sunrise and then my morning eyes. I'm always kind of been obsessed. It's really hard for me to start a song and not instantly talk about the morning. I don't know why it is. It's always just like the very first thing that comes out usually when I hear a melody, something about the morning.
That first demo you did on Logic, do you recall, were the lyrics pretty much what they are here now in the song, or did they go through changes with your producers or with the band when you got in the studio?
No, they are what they were. I've got a pretty great voice memo. You'll have to remind me to send it to you, but it's like 8 minutes long of me just kind of singing bullshit. Trying to find, just that right melody. And so some of those words are in there. That's usually always how it goes. I'll just record myself trying to find a melody, because usually my favorite lines are just things I kind of hear myself accidentally say.
Okay. Well, continuing with verse 1, the next 4 lines, there's harmonies on them. And man, the choice of notes here with the harmonies is awesome.
Like the heat in the contrast, I take a walk through the tree line, getting on with Father Time.
Like a bear in the forest, like the heat in the conscience, I take a walk through the tree line, getting on with Father Time. I put they're subtle, the harmonies. They're not sung super loud or aggressive. They're subtle, but they're haunting. The notes are perfect. On Father Time, there's that high-pitched guitar delay off to the left again. And then something happens here. There's a measure and a half of just the band playing. Okay, the vocals stop. Then you come in with the lyric, when do I begin? And then there's about another measure and a half of just music. And then when do I begin? The response, almost with like a delay effect, takes over that blends right into chorus 1. It is so cool.
Where do I begin?
Yeah, man, I love that too. I mean, a lot of that is just Chad being awesome.
Well, and usually I don't talk about it till the next time it comes up, and then I bring it up, but I feel the need to bring it up now. It doesn't happen in the second verse. It only happens there with the breaks between the music and the where do I begin, and of course, not where do I begin, the when do I begin, and the when do I begin, of course, comes back for the bridge later. So it's almost a foreshadowing of what's to come in the bridge later, but it never happens in verse 2. I think that's really cool.
Hey, everybody, don't you dare go anywhere. There's lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast after these messages from our sponsors. Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we welcome a special guest to come take a deep dive into a one-hit wonder artist with us. And together, we decide if that artist brought the one-hit thunder or was nothing more than a one-hit blunder. You can find One Hit Thunder anywhere that you listen to podcasts, so hit that subscribe button and join in on the fun each week.
Save on Cox Internet when you add Cox Mobile and get fiber-powered internet at home and unbeatable 5G reliability on the go. So whether you're playing a game at home,
Yes, goal.
or attending one live, you can do more without spending more. Learn how to save at cox.com/internet. Cox Internet is connected to the premises via coaxial cable. Cox Mobile runs on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability as measured by Ookla LLC in the U.S. 2H 2023. Results may vary, not an endorsement. Other restrictions apply.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Helping Friendly podcast explores the music and fan experience of Phish through interviews and deep dives on shows and tours. For more than 10 years, we've created insightful and fun discussions about our favorite band, and with the help of our guests and thematic series, we're still discovering new angles of appreciation for Phish. And when the band is on tour, we provide a review of every show the following day. As one of our listeners said, any Phish fans that enjoy meandering conversations and incredible insight on new and old Phish shows, this is for you. Highly recommend. It's not just about the band and the shows, it's about the journey getting there. Throughout 2024, we're going to be running down the top 25 Phish tours of all time, and that'll be interspersed with show reviews and regular episodes. Join us and check out the Helping Friendly podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the story of Whitney Houston.
This is the story of Kurt Cobain.
Of George Michael, of Otis Redding, of Amy Winehouse, of Michael Hutchence, Bob Marley. This is the story of Prince.
It's a new podcast series
about how they died, why they died, and why we're still talking about them so long after.
It's like nothing you've ever heard before.
It's storytelling.
But it's more than that, because rock stars,
they tell us how we feel. They change our mood.
They change the clothes we wear, the people we hang out with,
the way we remember things.
It's them who give us those ludicrous moments, the ones where you're
jumping around, singing your heart out, feeling understood.
And it's those moments we'll help you remember, the ones you're thinking about right now.
That feeling.
That feeling.
It's coming soon from Crowd Network.
Just search for Death of a Rock Star on your podcast app.
And subscribe now.
And now, back to the show.
When you got to verse 2, did you ever say, wait, why isn't this here?
Well, that kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier, was I just kind of stayed true to the shape that I just played. And so I had a thought process, and once I was in the second verse, and that, you know, is the first verse or the second verse kind of mirrors the cadence and then the time. There's or at least the series of cadences from the first verse, and it was just felt like time to go right back into the chorus at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was mostly just kind of just felt right. So I more was left to figure out what to say. And it was less about deciding to have that be shorter, if that makes sense.
And it's interesting, a lot of times, and I'll use this as a trick, and a lot of songwriters do, if they're going to do a part like that, Max, they'll save it for the second verse. You know, they won't give it away right at the top, you know, and here you did it. And I didn't miss it the second time, but I was wondering, why does the second verse feel different? Of course, I'm staring at the lyrics, there's less lyrics, and then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, that part only happens there. It's almost like that's your one pre-chorus in the song that never happens again.
Well, tell me again what happens. So it's when do I begin? And I don't say to end on the second time. Is that what you're saying?
On the second verse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the second verse just basically it's 8 lines.
Oh yeah, it just says where do I, right? And goes
yeah.
right into
Yeah. It's really cool. Well, right at that moment, we're at the 1 minute and 3 second mark. And what I think is really cool about the choruses, a lot of times that's where you'll save the big harmonies for. And, you know, and your harmonies are those subtle, really cool, haunting harmonies in the verses. The chorus comes in and it doesn't need harmonies because of the kind of conviction that you're singing this with. It's a one-person vocal, you know, just with what that's at least how it made me feel. And you just, again, I believe you, if that makes sense. It's believable what I'm hearing here. It's like it feels like a truthful lyric. You're saying, oh my, surefire, yeah, the setting sun gonna set on me. And that's the shortest chorus in the song. There's a piano or guitar like single notes throughout the chorus that comes in there. That's really cool.
Yeah, so good.
Was that on the original demo? Is that something that Chad and you came up with when you were recording it?
I do think, Chad, we put something else in there. I think I had put just like in the demo, there was just kind of a pulsing synth. So that may have made it in there as well, but I do think we just ended up and adding just the actual notes, playing all those notes on the piano, just the dun 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 dun. Mm-hmm. I think that's also done with the guitar in that too.
Okay, so it's a guitar. I didn't know. I could, like I said, the other thing I love about this mix is the subtlety of things. It's not like all of a sudden that guitar, or I was calling it piano, but that guitar, those single notes are all of a sudden super loud. They're there, but I had to really put the headphones on and study it and listen to it. It's another layer that fills out that chorus. Interestingly enough, at this point in the song, we haven't heard the guitar hook that's at the top of the song yet, and we'll get to that. But we haven't heard that come back. Right after the chorus, it goes right into verse 2. There's that I'm calling it the high-pitched guitar delay. I don't know what you would call that, but that happens again, off into the left speaker, and it takes you back into verse 2. I love that. Again, was that on the demo, or was that just a happy accident in the studio?
That's another Chad just being amazing.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a running theme of the song. It's almost neck and neck with the the guitar hook at the top that comes back later. Before we get into verse 2, I don't know if it's the bass gets louder here or another eighth note guitar is mixed right up the middle, but it definitely feels heavier than verse 1 when I A-B them.
I've been waiting for a long time. I've been waiting in the sunshine. It's storming, drying out like a histamine.
Was there more guitars here, or was it just mixed a little louder?
Well, I think that the beginning of that second verse, the guitar goes away. The rhythm guitar, the dun dun dun, that goes away and doesn't come back in until I think a measure after. But that may be why the bass is seeming louder, because it just is alone there.
Okay, well, verse 2 just musically seems bigger, but not in a way of like, whoa, it just made me feel different enough to where I had to A-B it. It wasn't like, oh yeah, it just gets huge here in the second verse. They threw in these big stereo guitars. It's, again, I'll use the word subtle. It's subtle, but there was something there enough to where my ears went, why does this feel different? You know, and I went back, and it's awesome. I love how this song grows. I'm going to get into the lyrics here. Verse 2, I've been waiting for a long time. I've been waiting in the sunshine, looking round like it's storming, drying out like a histamine. I love that line. On the line, looking round like it's storming, another guitar comes in, more strummed right there.
Looking round like it's storming, drying out like a histamine.
That's awesome. When that guitar comes in, because it's a different feel. It's not, the eighth notes are still chugging back there, and the bass is still doing the eighth notes, but that guitar rhythmically just kind of pushes and pulls a little bit and adds this other layer. Again, was that something on the demo, or was that done in the studio?
I think that was done in the studio. I mean, a lot of what we were doing is working with a very linear track, and so I think when you're in that position, if you can ever take things away and bring them back, it has such an impact.
I love when that guitar comes in. And again, the line I said, I just love drying out like a histamine. I have terrible allergies, so I know all about histamines. That, again, in the notes here, the high-pitched guitar delay. That sound comes in, panned off to the left speaker before the next four lines are harmonized. And man, again, the harmonies here, you picked the right notes. It's sweet.
Yellow soldier on a dead man. Listen, lover, won't you call me? Well, I'm a sucker for some harmony.
I'm the warden on the front line, a yellow soldier on a dead mine. Listen, lover, won't you call me? I'm a sucker for some harmony. And I want to tell you, Max, on your website, because as you can tell here, I do some research. It says, listen, honey, won't you call me, not lover. Was that the original lyric?
No, that's a mistake on the website. I think it is listen, lovers. That's some good alliteration.
I actually picked up the phone and called Chris. I go, dude, am I hearing lover? Am I hearing this right? And he's like, yeah, it sounds like lover to me. I said, that's what we're going with. But I'm going to ask Max when I get him on. I love the last line here. I'm a sucker for some harmony, because I love that there's kind of a nice play on words here, because the last four lines have the harmonies on it. Was that a play on words, or just by accident that lyric happened there?
Yeah, that was less about multiple voices and more about I was getting into just kind of the notion of trying to view things with the right perspective, and I thought it would be cool to just kind of end that whole thought process with the fact that like everything just always feels better to me when I'm with someone.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, what I think is really cool here, and we talked about it for verse 1, but it goes straight into chorus 2 here. There's no when do I begin, that line and the breakup of just the band playing, going back and forth. It doesn't happen, and I don't think it needs to happen. I love that it hits the chorus here, and now you're getting a double chorus, and you're actually getting a new lyric on the back half of this chorus.
Yeah.
We're at the 1 minute and 49 second mark here at chorus 2. The lyric is, oh my, surefire, yeah, the setting sun gonna set on me. Oh my, surefire, yeah, the setting sun wants company. So set that one up for us, the back half of that at least, lyrically.
I always do a double chorus and not just repeat the same lyrics. That's cool. It's not always the case, but I just wanted to say something else without having to kind of leave the context that I was in. And that just kind of came pretty naturally. But I love that imagery of kind of feeling like this everything's going away and the sun's setting, the day is ending, but kind of personifying the sun itself a little bit. And
yeah, it's saying the setting sun wants company. Are you the company in that aspect?
Yeah, or whoever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think I like the idea of it just kind of summing us all up in this together.
Yeah. And this isn't a knock on myself. I've had a few moments of a decent lyric here that I don't fancy myself as a lyricist at all. I'm a songwriter, and melodies are my strong suit, chords and melodies. But I wish I could write lyrics with imagery like this. I love your lyrics, man. They're great.
That really means a bunch to me. Thank you.
Yeah, they're great. And now we're at the 2-minute and 19-second mark. Of course, in chorus 2, that single note guitar thing was happening again, and it's great. It just adds another layer that I really like. 2 minutes and 19 seconds. There's a 20-second instrumental part here, basically. I'm calling this first part without any vocals, the post-chorus. It's the same chord progression after the chorus, but that intro guitar riff from the top of the song is back. It comes in, but there's also a high synth part that is mimicking that guitar part. I'll again ask you, was that done with Chad, or was that something you had an idea to do on the demo?
Yeah, that was done with Chad. Just a little more texture.
Yeah, it adds a lot. It's a cool part.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I agree too. That whole bridge, I love that whole bridge, man.
The bridge is awesome, and I'm calling this first part the post-chorus. 2 minutes and 19 seconds, and then at the 2 minute and 34 second mark, everything drops out. The lick, the keyboard lick, the bass, it's just drums, and there's a 2-note guitar part that comes in. That's just, it's awesome, man. Just kind of makes you come down before what I'm calling the bridge comes in with the vocals. So how did that come about? Was that on the original sketch, or was that something you're like, you know what, we got this, as you called it, a linear song, and I don't use that as a 4-letter word here. It's just that's the way the song was, and you were building the song. But how did you get to the point, like, you know what, it's got to be just drums and this 2-note guitar thing happening? And that's the only time you hear that sound of that guitar too. It's a new sound you're introducing there. It's beautiful.
I just did that when I was playing through that shape for the first time, just kind of stopped. But it was, you always come to that point in the song where something else needs to happen or something needs to go away. And I think we just felt like there was such a great vibe going on that if you were to change it too much or do any sort of proper like bridge turn, I was afraid kind of you would lose the mood. So we just kind of dropped out, and then that 2-note guitar I always think is a good trick of just if something kind of spaces out, to have 8th notes still going to keep moving the tune along.
Well, I'm gonna steal it. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's yours. It was never mine.
It's really cool because, as you just said, you brought up something. A bridge, a lot of times it's this departure. You want to take the song somewhere else, and you could have easily put the weird minor chord in there and went to another progression.
Exactly.
But I think you were afraid of that. You wanted to keep the essence of what was going on, but change it up enough to where there was a departure.
Yeah, just classic staying where you are.
No, it's great. And, as that 2-note guitar part and the drums are happening, the vocals come in for the first 2 lines, and there's harmonies on all 4 of these bridge lines. It's the last time you get any harmonies in the song. And these harmonies are amazing as well.
When do I begin? When do I begin?
You say, when do I begin? Which that lyric, it harkens back to verse 1 when we got the lyric there. When do I begin? When do I begin to end? And right there, the main progression and the band come back in. It's no longer the 2-noter. The band's back in.
Yeah, the rules. Okay? That's probably the best part.
It is, man. That part is awesome. this pre-delay comes on. Where do I begin? You get this like weird reverb delay that sets up for the next line. When do I begin? And then the very last line, when do I begin to end? And there, on that last line, it's just drums and guitars ringing out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of rings. That's, again, that was something that happened in the studio?
I mean, that was just, yeah. It was just, how do you set up the final moment? And again, it was just, let's take it away and then just put it all back in.
As you're in the studio and you're recording this track at this point and you're building the song, was there ever, how, I guess what I'm going to ask is how really involved, it sounds like a lot, was Chad in building this song with you, with these parts we're talking about?
It's always as much as a collaboration as you can possibly imagine. I mean, there is no Wilderado without Chad or James. It's just the simple truth of the matter. And lots of times what makes our relationship so wonderful is we all just know when a song's great, or when a song, we all feel the same way about a song. And I always think a great song is just a song you love. And so when we all feel that same way about a tune, then it's just kind of game on, and everybody is just all about trying to figure out how do we tell it the right way. So it is a very, very collaborative process.
So yeah, after this bridge, which is just probably my favorite part of the song. I love it all, but this bridge just, it just kills me. It's so good. We get into chorus 3, and chorus 3 is like chorus 2. We're at the 3 minute and 5 second mark here of this 4 minute and 4 second song. And you don't get like a double chorus here. You just get the chorus again. The lyric is, oh my, surefire, yeah. The setting sun gonna set on me. Oh my, surefire, yeah. The setting sun wants company. And I have to say, when I read these lyrics back at people, it's weird in and of itself. But for the listeners, please, if you haven't heard this song, listen to it, because by speaking these lyrics, oh my, it does not do justice to what Max is doing vocally here. It's such a good melody line. I love it. I've had the song on my head on repeat for a couple of days. That's how much I'm really into it. At the end here, that high synth part comes in underneath, and from the 3 minute and 35 second point on out, the guitar main lick comes back in until 3 minutes and 50 seconds when that high-pitched guitar delay comes back yet again, and that sound echoes over just a drum beat.
You know what? I'm just now real sorry to cut you off, but I've been kind of trying to figure out what delay you're talking about. I think that's actually a vocal. Is it the ooh? Because I do this whoo, kind of like there's this real verby ooh that's on the one of each. That's exactly what it is. So that's not a guitar.
So that's a vocal. That, man. Okay. And yeah, again, that right there, that shows you how well this song was mixed, because I feel I got some pretty good ears, man. I put the headphones on and I get in here. I'm taking this thing apart like a buzzard picking apart roadkill, man.
That's so funny. I was thinking, man, that guitar really impacted it. I'm trying to even remember what it was, but so that's a vocal. We've always called them the Who's. I don't know why I did that. I actually do know why I did that. I just totally ripped it from. There's this band called Number One Dads. There's a record by Number One Dads called About Face, and that's one of my favorite records of all times. And he's got this incredible song that starts with he just does this real high pitched woo, and when I was making this demo, I just did the same thing. It just felt so cool. It felt like it worked perfectly. And yeah, that's what,
from the very first time I was saying high pitched guitar part, you just had this puzzled look, and every time I'd say it, you just kind of, like the little cartoon bubble going over your head with question marks.
I was just gonna let you go with it. I wasn't gonna try to figure out what it was, but yeah, that's funny.
You're like, what's this guy smoking? What's he hearing? That's your voice. That's your voice. Well, the song ends with that and a couple of well-placed drum tom hits, and yeah. It's just done. And it's so cool, man. I can't say it enough. I love this track, and I think it's so interesting that a Stephen King, a poem from his wife, became something that you drew inspiration to write this haunting melody and this killer song.
Man, well, I again can't say enough and how good you're making me feel. Yeah, it did. That's the truth. It did. I mean, I think it ended up mostly being about just kind of being obsessed with this life and the fact that it ends, and the fact that I believe we get one go at it. And yeah, I just think I don't know why, but when I read that poem, it just kind of made the whole idea of hibernation seem so wild to me. That's a sacrifice that those animals are willing to make, just to be blunt. And just kind of made me, I was in a time too where, I was, I think, very, very down and very dark, and was not being able to write tunes, and was, I don't know, I think I was a bit depressed, to be honest. And I think I just related to this idea of sometimes, like, you kind of gotta go to those moments where you're just, everything gets dark and low, and that's okay. And you come back out, and it just was so sweet to me. The idea that the bear comes out with the song on its lips, and it just steps right back out into the world that's still moving.
And now you're the bear hibernating in a tour van for 3 months at a time.
Well, I'm the bear that's been hibernating in Tulsa for almost 2 years.
Well, listen, Max, thank you for sharing the story. I love the band. I'm so grateful that your publicist reached out to us, and I got a chance to speak with you. And at this point, if you'd like to leave the listeners with what's going on with Wilderado, man, any tour dates coming up? What's happening with the band?
Yeah, it's just such a great time in the band, man. It's dates are coming in. We're just, what we're doing is setting up this record release. We've been patient and, just kind of waiting for the right time to put it out. It means a lot to us. It's our favorite songs ever. And it's just, we've been setting it up and finally have a plan, have a tour. We're doing kind of some one-off dates through the fall, playing with some new people. Just everything is so exciting, so positive, so uplifting. And I think I love being in the band right now as much as I ever have. So we're excited to kind of keep sharing music and keep seeing what happens next. We've never really, our whole thing has always been hold everything loosely and just kind of let it happen and work hard, and things just keep coming.
Awesome, man. Well, I wish you nothing but the best. And I got a big mouth. I'm going to tell everybody that I know about your band. I think you guys are great.
Dude, it means a lot, for real. This was such a cool thing for me. These songs mean a lot, especially lyrics. It's not very often that you get to have someone listen to your lyrics that way. So well done. You made me feel really good.
Hey, everybody, don't touch that dial. There's plenty more Chris DeMakes a Podcast after a few words from our sponsors.
Bowie, Dylan, Marley. You've heard the names and maybe you've heard their songs, but what about the stories behind the records that made titans of music like these so universally loved and important? Join me, Josh Adam Myers, host of The 500, as each week I go through a different album from Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Albums list from 2012 with an incredible lineup of comedians, actors, and musicians talking about how the music has impacted their lives. New episodes of The 500 come out every Wednesday. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Tom May here, host of Future Friday. I've spent the last 15 years on the road with my band, The Menzingers, where I've met all kinds of wild and fascinating people. So I started a podcast. On Future Friday, I talk to fellow musicians about the moments that made them, their passions outside of music, and the curiosities that tie us all together. I've also talked to the likes of UFO researchers, magicians, soldiers, and documentary filmmakers, and I'm constantly searching for folks that can shape and change our view of the world. You can check out Future Friday wherever you like.
Welcome to us talking about our podcast for a minute.
What's the name of that podcast?
That's Axe to Grind, and right now you're going to be getting a little taste of it, right down to the shaky microphone and all.
And my name's Bob.
And my name's Patrick, and usually we're joined by Tom.
Tom's the best. Tom has a real grown-up job that requires him to be at work, but we talk about decidedly not so grown-up things like
hardcore music and things that people that like hardcore music tend to like.
So that could be the latest shows, revisiting classic material, talking about the new classics, all the little dorm room nonsense that you imagine from niche music podcasts that you either love, want to love, or hate.
Yeah, imagine all the emotions that you have towards a genre that has impacted your life, and then condense them down to an hour to 2 hours a week.
So triangulate your speakers, think about jumping off the bed, singing along, dancing like an idiot, and listen to Axe to Grind podcast.
I don't think it overstates things to say that the Beatles were the greatest gift to entertainment and culture of our time, a secular religion, if you will, with their universal appeal and demonstrable impact on people's lives. I'm Robert Rodriguez, host of Something About the Beatles. With every episode, I speak with historians, musicians, artists, and Beatle witnesses, all in the service of fresh insights into the most joyous cultural entity the world has ever known. I hope you'll join me and listen to Something About the Beatles, now on Evergreen and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, this is Dewey Halpus, host of Peer Pleasure on the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Join me each week as I explore another long-form conversation with one of your favorite musicians, actors, comedians, or creatives. From Chino Moreno of the Deftones, John Gorley of Portugal the Man, to Fat Mike from NoFX and Ian MacKaye from Fugazi and Minor Threat, we go all over the map. From Fall Out Boy to Slayer, Peer Pleasure has it all. Check us out now on Sound Talent Media.
If you're a fan of fierce, honest, in-your-face rock music, check out Another Cheetah. Based out of Greensburg, Pennsylvania, Another Cheetah lives to plug in, turn up, and rock out.
Why do I destroy myself? You'd be much better off with someone else.
Another Cheetah, streaming now on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever else you listen to music.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is submit your song via MP3 only and your bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured band is Wildlife, spelled Wildlife, featuring Sam on guitar, Dave on vocals, and Spencer on the bass. This act caught the ear of Little Steven, guitarist for Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, who signed the band to his Wicked Cool Records. Here's a snippet of their song, Deathbed.
My deathbed is a place where can't nobody control me. And my deathbed is a place where you and I don't have to feel lonely anymore. So I'm calling out to you. From your speakers I'll come through. And I'm making room for two in my deathbed.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Well, I thought that was a really great episode, and I don't know, man. I don't know if Max knew what he was getting into this episode. I kind of saw the look on his face change to be like, wow, he's really getting into the nuts and bolts of this song. I think that maybe he thought this was just going to be a regular conversation on a podcast or interview or something like that. I don't know if he knew how in-depth this was going to get.
He was shocked. You heard him say off the top, like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I've never had anybody listen to one of my songs like this.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that he was inspired to write that song after reading On Writing by Stephen King. I knew that poem was by Tabitha King, didn't put it together that was Stephen King's wife. And On Writing is one of those Stephen King books that I've heard about forever that I haven't read. I've read so many good Stephen King books, my favorite being 4 Seasons, which is the 4 short stories that includes what became the Stand By Me movie and Shawshank Redemption are both within that book of short stories. That's beside the point. I got to read On Writing. But yeah, it's cool how you can pull inspiration from literally anywhere.
Yeah, and he wasn't offended after I had read this poem a bunch of times, and then I recited it during the episode. And as I'm reading it, even when I got done, I said, man, I don't know how you got a song out of this. And he kind of laughed. He's like, yeah, because like I said, I probably would have read this and never thought about writing a song. And it's cool how that inspired him to do so.
I thought it was cool, the animal imagery in the poem, because, dude, I got to tell you, last night I watched this documentary called My Octopus Teacher on Netflix. It won the Oscar for Best Documentary 2021, and it was about a guy who went in the ocean every day and developed a relationship, like a friendship with an octopus. It's amazing and it is beautiful. But while you guys are talking about that, I couldn't help but start thinking about that again, because the imagery of the bear coming out of hibernation and that relation to nature. And Max brought up how he thinks that all of wildlife, all of nature, animals, people for sure, kind of realize their own mortality in a way. And I mean, you could look at that as a dark thing, but I look at that as like a hopeful thing. I don't know. It just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, and he said that bears are willing to sacrifice their lives for hibernation. Probably half of their lives or so. So I thought it was a really cool take on something to get inspired to write a song. It was definitely nothing we've heard here on the show yet.
The thing about this song, it's a song that really puts you in a mood and keeps you there. And I don't know if that mood is partially pensive and reflective, partially hopeful. It's upbeat, but yet kind of solemn sounding at the same time. I don't know. Where does this song put you, Chris?
Well, I think everything, and it made sense at the end when he said he was kind of in a depressed place when he wrote this and recorded this, and you can hear that certain bit of loneliness. Again, this song's believable. And remember the first time a producer said that to me, he said, sing it with conviction. I want to believe it. I'm like, what's he talking about? And I totally understand that now. I don't even know if I could explain it any better to the listeners than just saying that I believed this song the first time I heard it. It felt real. And like I said, I was apprehensive about giving the comparison. I wanted him to describe his own band, and he stopped short because I don't think he really knew how. But I just felt like it almost sounded like Tom Petty's backup band playing the track here with like a Coldplay type delivery on the vocal, and he took it as an amazing compliment. And you never know when you're going to get someone's reaction, because any band with a horn section sounded like Less Than Jake all my years. It's like, oh, Royalcon Review, you guys sound like no, we don't sound like
right. Well, I don't think any band, especially a band in the style of Wilderado, is going to be offended when you say, you guys put me in the mind of Tom Petty. I think anyone in the world, for the most part, is going to be like, wow, thanks.
No, but whether you like Tom Petty or Coldplay or not is beside the point. I happen to love both those artists, but I believe both those artists. There's something true when I hear those songs, and that's the vibe I got from this. So all those descriptions that you gave, I felt when listening to this, and I can't get the song out of my head. It's one of the coolest songs I've heard in a long while.
It's very cool, and I thought that Max's outlook on being a band was very cool. It reminded me of my own, and I'm sure yours too, Chris. He basically said he's always believed the way to make fans is to get out there and shake hands and play live. And I think that's kind of the way I've lived my musical life, as you have too. It's not like we don't think that we're going to win over the world with our beauty or anything like that. It comes down to the touring and getting out there and playing your music and connecting with people. And, we can't hear every band in the world, and I'm glad that through this podcast we were able to hear Wilderado, and I strive to hear every good band in the world, and I feel fortunate that we were able to discover this band through this podcast.
Yeah, the fact that their publicist reached out and hit us up, and we get hit up quite a bunch now, which is awesome. I never ever dreamt when we started this that people be coming to us to want to be on the show, and they were an undiscovered band for me. I got to find a new band that I love.
Right. I think for a lot of people out there, they're a pretty popular band. I'm sure a lot of people are like, "What? You don't know this band?" Well, hey, look, we try to know every band, but sometimes somebody slips under your radar. Hey, Chris, sometimes even once in a while, there'll be a band from 30 or 40 years ago I never heard of, and then I discover them, and it's like a new band to me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all. And I'll tell you, and that's why I was careful with my words when I was, giving an introduction to the band. I mean, they have 18 million Spotify streams on some of their stuff. I mean, that's something to brag about there. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, man, Wilderado's Spotify numbers are pretty impressive, but you know what else is pretty impressive?
What is that, Chris?
The amount of custom songs that you've done for people over the past couple years. What is that number up to now?
That number is 171. I just did my 171st custom song for somebody, and that's been since December 2019, so just shy of 2 years.
Damn, dude, it's a good thing you're doing all these episodes and picking up all these little tips along the way from all these other songwriters, or you might be running dry. Have you, honest question, have you been able to take little bits and pieces of like people's processes and put them into your own process?
It's funny that you asked me that, because I was just going to expound on that. Yeah, I have. I've learned so much from this podcast. Not just from talking to the artist, but like really analyzing the songs. For instance, the Joey Cape episode, where there was just sporadic harmonies on one word here or there, but in one verse, but not the next verse. And I've been kind of sprinkling little tricks like that into some of these songs, So I have learned some new tricks. It's really awesome.
Dude, I don't want to say it, but the holidays are coming up. I can't believe that I'm saying that, but it's actually kind of true. If someone is interested in getting that awesome gift of a custom song, which honestly, I know we're trying to sell some Chris DeMakes custom songs here, but honestly, that is like an incredible gift to give someone a personalized song. So if someone was interested in that, how can they contact you?
They can hit me up at chrisdemakes@gmail.com. And if you get a custom song from me and you'd like a video to go along with it, a picture video, a montage of some sort, Chris can do that. He does video editing, or if you'd like a lyric video, he can do that. And once again, a great gift for the holidays. So hit me up at chrisdemakes@gmail.com, and I will give you all the info on that.
We can together make a very special gift for someone that will last a lifetime. And I'm not just saying that. It lasts a lot longer than some shirt. Although I do have some shirts that lasted a long time. I'm wearing a shirt from like 9 years ago right now. But yeah, hell yeah.
And if you can, give me a follow on Instagram at LessThanChrisD. And I want to thank this week's guest, Max Rainer, for sitting in with us. Be on the lookout for Wilderado's new album, self-titled album, on October 15th. Check it out. Awesome band. And we'll see you next week.
Hey everyone, this is Tuck from Fit for a King, an off-road minivan. Every week I bring you fun interviews alongside your favorite metalcore entertainers with my new podcast, Get Tucked. Join me every Monday with bands like Counterparts, Crystal Lake, like Moths to Flames, and many more. We play unsigned and undiscovered bands, deep dive into each artist's history, and of course provide the greatest breakdowns in current metalcore. Tune in to Get Tucked every Monday, out now through Sound Talent Media.
Hello out there. Hi, I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. We want to tell you about our podcast, None But the Brave, which is dedicated to taking a deep dive into the work of Bruce Springsteen.
We're currently in our 5th season. Our latest episodes focus heavily on Bruce's 2024 tour and have featured such guests as Anthony Castrovince from MLB Network and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
We're also covering the 40th anniversary of Bruce's biggest record, Born in the USA. And as part of that, coming up this week, Uprock's cultural critic Stephen Hyden returns to the show for a fascinating hour-long conversation about his new book, There Was Nothing You Could Do, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and the End of the Heartland.
To listen, you can go to our website, mbtbpodcast.com, or subscribe on your preferred podcasting platform.
We hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.